Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Sports Card Advantage podcast, episode 60. It is Saturday, May 21st at 10:03 p.m., way past Bunk's bedtime, but as always, he sucked it up and decided to join us anyway. What's going on, buddy? How are you?
What's up, man? I am up solely because Beckett is back.
Oh, guy,
that is why I'm awake.
Don't give away too much of the episode before we dive in here.
Oh, all right.
All right. Before we get into today's topics, quick update on the contest. This is going to be the second to last week we're running the contest. Next week will be the last week, and then we will announce winners. For those of you that are unfamiliar with the contest, plain and simple, go to Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcast, leave us a review, screenshot the review, send it in to info@sportscardadvantage.com. And prizes are either a VIP pass to National, or a $200 slab, or a $200 break credit with your favorite breaker. You take your pick as far as what you want to do. So take the 30 seconds, leave us a review, grab a screenshot, and send it to info@sportscardadvantage.com. Website also up, sportscardadvantage.com. So by all means, please give that, check that out, and let us know what you think on social media or email. And then Instagram, Twitter, SportsCardADVTG. Any Sports Card Advantage podcast business for you, sir?
No, I've learned just to stay out of the business.
Fair enough. Just be the pretty face. All right. We are going to get into today's topics. The first topic, the hobby was a buzz. One of the largest breakers in the business, Platinum Card Breaks, potentially, allegedly, was caught on camera stealing cards and or quote-unquote accidentally throwing a card out. For those of you that are unfamiliar with what happened, Platinum Card Breaks is probably a top 3 breaker as far as size goes. They've been in this business for the last, I think it's 8 to 10 years. They rip a massive amount of product. Supposedly, there was a video of them keeping a redemption card in a box, putting that box off to the side. Somebody pointed out that they quote-unquote threw it out. They then palmed that and, we didn't see it type of move. And then, they tried to make it look like they threw it out accidentally. And then the apology came and they basically said, the card was a stupid Justin Fields, RPA, and we don't need it. It was only $1,000 card. We're too rich for that type of apology. So what's your take here as far as this situation is concerned? Do you think that they were actually trying to steal the card? Do you actually think this was a mistake? Where do you stand on this, Bunk?
Well, when they palmed it, were they trying to put in a lesser redemption in its place?
I don't think so. And supposedly they have one of their people, whoever does their social media or video stuff, that's like working on blowing up the initial, because the initial video, you can see the card in the box. So they're trying to blow up that video to show that it was, the actual...
Still the same card.
Yeah, still the same card.
Well, I mean, if they're not trying to switch it out, then there's no... Who are they scamming here?
Well, basically, the accusation...
Or they were trying to get away with it never being on camera, therefore they didn't have to mail it.
Yeah, exactly. The accusation was that they basically put it in a box off to the side and that they were going to keep the redemption and send it in themselves.
Got it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, if they were trying to palm it to put in, like, one of the lesser autographs in there, that would definitely be bad.
So the whole palming thing was when the people that were in the live pointed out that there was a card in the box. He had this card, the redemption, in the box off to the side. So out of the 4 boxes that come in the National Treasures product they were opening, 3 of them wound up on the floor behind him, and 1 box was off to the side with the redemption in it. So the claim was that he always puts a box off to the side for National Treasure. Should they pull a booklet, that they can put the booklet in that box because it doesn't fit in a sleeve. However, when one of the other breakers brought the garbage bag back in, he grabbed the box from the side and then swung around in his chair and palmed that box inside his hand and then was going through the garbage with the other person. It definitely looks super...
It looks bad.
It looks very bad. So, for those of you that have been rocking with us...
What if it was a 10 grand card and they threw the fields in as the replacement?
Yeah.
But that's why I need to see the blow up. Can we visually see what it was before it got off camera?
I mean, if you blow up the video, probably. I don't think that they switched out the redemption. I mean, I think they were probably just straight up, potentially straight up stealing the card. He saw the redemption in the box, and the claim is he squeezed the box so all the other cards came out except for the redemption.
Interesting.
But
a lot of bad optics there. That's
so
for sure, but
so here
I don't know that you can prove he was trying to steal it though.
I don't know either. However, if you Google Platinum Card Breaks scam, there are videos over the years on YouTube claiming that he does shady stuff. And if you've been rocking with us for a while, we talked about when Platinum sold off their collection to Shine and Ken Golden. This was probably 6 months ago. He sold $30 million plus worth of cards, both singles and sealed. To me, he mishandles the cards like crazy. He handles the cards like a gorilla. That's number one. Number two, to amass $30 million worth of cards in singles and graded pieces and sealed wax, it brings suspicion up to me as far as like, what other shenanigans and other things are you doing? Are you opening cases, getting the case hits out, and then throwing boxes into breaks as quote-unquote throw-ins? And hey, everybody, look what I'm going to do for you. He does a ton of that used car sales bullshit, and it really wouldn't surprise me that they've participated in shenanigans, allegedly, over the years.
Yeah, I know, but you do it if you're doing it that much on video, you're bound to screw up more than once, and once you get caught a few times, then the whole thing's gone. I don't know that it's worth it for them to do that.
Yeah, I don't disagree, but I'm just saying, when there's smoke, there's usually some sort of fire, regardless of whether or not they're doing these types of things on a regular basis. He just comes off the type of personality that he's a hustler, and he's a used car salesman, and it wouldn't surprise me that they've done various things over the years where it's just shady.
Yeah, and now if I'm in a break of theirs or something like that, now I'm gonna have to say, okay, that box is supposed to have 10 cards in it. Now I'm gonna have to sit there and count all 10 cards as he goes through and make sure all 10 came out.
Yeah.
That's what I'd end up doing now, and that sucks.
I mean, if you read the comments and whatever, number one, as I said, he literally handles the cards like a fucking gorilla, and he slams them into the sleeves. When he's opening National Treasures, he literally opens all 4 boxes and stacks the piles on top of each other. The cards are just not properly, regardless of whether or not he's cheating, the cards are just not handled well. So you take that into consideration, especially high-end product or any other product you're hoping to try to potentially grade. Good luck with them. Corners are going to be dinged. Surfaces are going to be scratched up. Just because of just the handling alone.
And the crazy thing is, you would think a video of this nature would turn people off from filling their breaks, and I bet you they've had not one problem.
So I checked the day after the video came out, and literally I remember messaging you. It was 6:35 on a Wednesday afternoon they had 80 people in their live room waiting to fill breaks for like Bowman, like just regular Bowman product or whatever else they were opening. Baseball. It's the middle of the middle of the evening, and 80 people in live. I mean, to give you an idea, like Leighton, also 80 to 100 people in their live breaks, and they're same size. So nobody was missing a beat.
Well, that's what I mean. That's my point. My point is that they do so well that they can just give you some BS roundabout apology or explanation for what's going on.
He didn't even apologize. The guy did not apologize. He said, I did nothing wrong. I have nothing to apologize for. This is what you thought happened, but this
Don't the psychologist say
happen.
when you make that claim, that means you're guilty?
Oh, dude. If you watch, it's
so easy to just say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I missed the card.
If you watch his 20-minute apology video, like, he doesn't really even apologize. He fucking makes a bunch of excuses, gets very passive aggressive. I'm so rich and we're so big that who cares about this $1,000 card was basically.
And that's exactly why they won't have problems filling breaks. They're so large that to them this is a non-issue for them. Yep. They don't even care.
Yep. And I mean, it was the same with Backyard. Backyard had the same situation. Big scandal, did not miss a beat. And that segues perfectly into the main thing that I wanted to talk about. As a result of week after week after week, we are constantly talking about shit going wrong in the hobby. So the question that I ask you is it time for some form of hobby regulation, formal regulation, where you have some sort of...
like a governing board of breakers?
Yeah, governing body, that similar to like SEC or NFA or FINRA for financial markets, that if brokers are doing shady stuff, somebody comes in and investigates. And if they deem them to have done something shady or cheating or whatever else, they get penalized. It's the same with, casinos and any other type of thing where this type, any of these types of activities and investments in places where people are spending endless amounts of money. Gambling. Dude, you don't think there's people that come in and observe casinos as far as their practices and making sure that everything that they're doing is above board?
Yeah, I agree with you. That's what I mean. I mean, because it's a gambling component, it backs up your point a little further. It's just hard for me to see, because it's cards, that we'd get to that point. But the premise is there.
Well, I mean, is it time? That's the question that I'm asking you. Is it time to somehow formally structure some sort of regulatory or governing body of cards, of breakers, so that this type of stuff doesn't happen? I mean, because people spend their hard-earned money, thousands of dollars a year on breaks, and if they're getting cheated or there's suspicion of cheating, that's something that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know, man. I just, it's hard for me to envision if it's time for something like that. I'm gonna go with no. I think there's just too many good ones out there, and you just learn to gravitate away from the ones that are shady. I don't think you'll ever see something like that.
I mean, here's my thought, and I'll throw this out there to play devil's advocate. I mean, I wish that we didn't get to this point, but it seems like every week we have something that we have to address. So here's my devil's advocate to this, as far as bringing, I mean, the only way to make this work is you have to hit people at the source, in that, the card companies have to participate and breakers have to agree to participate. And basically, if you are a breaker and found to be doing something shady, the card companies just cut off your supply. You're either suspended for a certain amount of time, or you're fined, or the amount of product that you're given is reduced, etc. And then anybody that's potentially buying secondhand, if you're caught supplying a suspended or or potentially even disqualified breaker with product, then your supply also is gone.
So to counter that, how would a governing body over the platinum video rule on that?
I mean, they basically have, something like that. They basically have to, examine the video, and there may be other angles or other things that they have in office or other come in, and also the other thing that would potentially be involved here too is they go back and look at previous breaks. And does he actually always put a box off to the side? And are the things that they claim to happen? There's an investigation that gets launched. They review everything, and then they provide findings. I mean, that's the way it works with any of these brokerages. When there's allegations of shady dealings, there's an investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, the industry's gotten too big that to have no repercussions and no penalties. Like,
I mean, I listen. I'm the biggest fan of deterrence. So if you're telling me that if we can get some sort of organization together where you breakers enter in and they risk losing their allocation, then that seems like a good enough reason not to cheat. And I'd be all down.
I mean, that's the whole thing. If you get caught, you lose your business. Like right now, you could get caught and nothing could happen. Like literally nothing could happen, because
even if he was trying to keep the Fields card, nothing's happened to their business.
Yeah, well,
I mean, nothing.
That's what I'm saying. You could be outright stealing, cheating, mishandling, like whatever it may be, and if your audience and your followers and your people still are like, yeah, we'll continue to give you money, or they didn't hear about it, or whatever it is, then there's no penalty.
Nothing in place to stop you from doing it
again. There's no deterrent. There's no hobby police that are going to show up at your door and be like, you're under hobby arrest. Like, there's nothing.
Can I get a badge?
Yeah, dude, I'll make you freaking Officer Bunk.
I'll show up at Platinum's office.
I mean, I don't think
I have a few questions.
I don't think it's that hard, because I honestly think as soon as you put deterrents in place and threaten people's supply, that from any of the larger breakers that this is their business, there will be zero.
Maybe we can do something like replay in baseball. You hit a button during the break on your computer, and then it sends it to the home breaking office to review.
I mean, I don't think that's necessarily possible, but I mean,
all the douchebags in chat would just be hitting it all the time just for fun.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Like, in all seriousness, there have been plenty of instances where brokers in the financial world are accused of wrongdoings, and there's investigations all the time, and sometimes things are technical glitches, and sometimes there's greedy motherfuckers on the other end that are trying to steal. And, having these regulations in place, and then like the first guy that gets caught or something like this where it may have been an accident or whatever else, but it's still sloppy and you get fined X amount of thousands of dollars for, all of a sudden you slow down. And then you
made an example out of it.
Yeah, you take better care. Yeah. I mean, and it wouldn't be that hard. I mean, the card companies are making enough fucking money that they can hire 8 to 10 people that, police some of this stuff and just
maybe you'll get a call from Fanatics tomorrow, guy, and you'll be the lead investigator. Of this new venture.
I don't think it's a terrible idea, man.
I don't think so. For me, I'm just having a hard time envisioning how you'd get that put in place. But I guess from the sounds of it, with how they do it with the markets and stuff, like you said, it's not all that hard.
No, I mean, because the hobby isn't of the scale of necessary for some of these other stuff, and there's only so many big breakers and other people that you have to police. And, there's only so much distribution. So if it's like a smaller breaker, I mean, that's easy to shut them down. If they want to buy retail and sell at retail or over retail, and they can fill breaks over retail, and you're a smaller breaker, God bless you, go for it. There's nothing we can do to stop you. But
can we put a regulation or fine or penalty in if you shake the crap out of my card because it's a huge hit? And and
Well,
the whole screen shaking.
I mean, that could also be something that is regulated, as far as card condition and complaints. Because
You'll never be able to do that.
yeah, but
You'll never be able to
at
do
the
that.
same time, if you buy into a break and your cards show up a freaking mangled mess and it wasn't the
Yeah, but
fault of the post office.
no, but sometimes the quality control of the companies is the cards are damaged before they even open it. I mean, you'd have to show me that they dropped it on camera to say, hey,
No,
got my big hit.
that would be a lesser extent, but I think there's all things that could be taken into consideration. I think just the threat will be enough to get some of these guys to slow down and take better care
And certainly turn off people thinking that's how they're going to make extra bucks, is start breaking and cheating people.
Yeah,
Sure.
and as a person that would buy into breaks, if I feel that I have some form of recourse should I get fucked, then that makes me feel more comfortable in that this business can go forward. Not that it's not going to anyway, but as of right now, if I get cheated, what am I gonna do? What recourse do I have? I have none. Zero.
Nothing. You can post a video and get 100 retweets, and the person's not going to lose any business.
Zero.
So.
Like, I mean, I could have been the one. Like, let's say that the Fields card. Let's say I had the Bears in that break, and the Fields card never gets uncovered, and they kept it. Like, and then let's say I have no recourse.
I'm trying to remember. There was a famous video from a couple of years ago. A guy switched out. I think it was like a Brandon Cooks card, clear as day. And I can't remember. Someone will know immediately. I'll ask somebody later tonight, and I want to go back and see if they still even have a business, because I can't remember the name of the people that did it. But switched it right out in front of you.
Yeah, I mean, but that's the whole thing. I mean, some of these guys could literally be like, "Hey, I'm going to steal from you right now on camera and throw it in the sleeve and put it on the side." And if they have loyal breakers, then, I mean, they have loyal people that break with them, the business, rooms will be full and everything else will be that right there.
Yeah.
They could be like, I didn't like that guy, so I took his cards. And like, okay.
Yeah. I kind of got to buy we don't need the $1,000 card excuse, though. That's what makes me think maybe it was something else.
I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of speculation and there's a lot of smoke, and who knows whether or not there's any fire. But I do think that it's time, and there needs to be some form of regulation that comes into this hobby, as far as oversight, because there's too much shady shit going on that for it to be ignored, and it's just going to keep growing. The business is going to keep getting bigger. Once Fanatics is in control, they got ridiculous amounts of money, and they're going to continue to try to grow cards and open up the audiences and bring more people in, and it's just going to keep getting bigger.
And well, you said months ago, if something like this happens, how far behind is the government now?
I'm surprised the government isn't here yet, because if you look at the letter of the law, breaking is straight up illegal. It is straight up illegal, and I am shocked with the amount of money that's been going on and the amount of people that have lost. Basically, I'm sure there's people that have been lost life savings on trying to break and hit big cards and haven't reached out to the government and had somebody show up and start to investigate this. Because
breaking anonymous,
dude, I don't like, if you look at lottery laws and you look at drawings and other things as far as how it has to be done and what you can do, it's straight up illegal. Because you and I thought about doing a breaking business, and we looked at the laws and we reviewed all this stuff, and it's not legal. It's just.
I mean, how illegal can it be? No one's stopping it. Is it just not big enough?
I mean, I don't know. Like, I don't know how it continues to go on, but as far as and even some of the giveaways that people do, technically speaking, if you look at the black and white of the law, some of these giveaways that these guys do are not legal. You are not allowed to require somebody to buy into something in order to be qualified to win a prize. It's not legal. And how many guys are like, well, buy into any of our breaks tonight and you'll be eligible to win this? Yeah. Like, technically speaking, if you require somebody to buy into something in order to win a prize, that is considered a lottery. And a lottery, you need to be regulated out the ass in order to do it.
So is everyone going to come knocking on your door when we now we get our breaks taxed?
No, because I don't think anybody in the government listens to this podcast.
Well, eventually somebody will, who's having a bad day. They're like, I'm going to screw the card industry over today.
And it won't be my fault. I mean, it literally will not be my fault because I'm shocked, literally shocked, that there hasn't been some sort of investigation yet.
I don't tell you, guy. I hope we never see that day.
I mean, me too, but at the same time, it wouldn't be bad to take some preemptive steps here and get some regulation, some other stuff in place. I mean, I guarantee you when Fanatics, if they roll out their own breakers, it's going to be done differently. I guarantee you there's going to be stuff that's set up and certain precautions and stuff in place because they are on the government's radar. They are big enough to be on that radar.
But think about it. What percentage of people don't buy their own hobby boxes and get their cards solely through breaks? I think, wouldn't the industry suffer some if you don't have breaks? I think it'd get crushed.
Of course.
We'd get absolutely crushed.
Yeah. I mean, it would be a huge hit to the industry because a lot of people there's a lot of wax that's purchased by breakers in order to break. And then a lot of people get cards through breaks that sell singles. So yeah. I personally think that if all of a sudden breaking gets regulated, so here's the thing though, if breaking all of a sudden gets regulated, guess what? Then you have breaking that happens at casinos and lotteries and other industries that are already regulated and already in place that can do this. So you'll have a breaking room at Caesars. You know,
I was just literally going to say I could go to the breaking room at the Borgata next to the poker room.
It'll be broadcast on, online like anything else, and you'll have a person sitting behind pretty much like a blackjack table, and there'll be cameras and they'll be opening boxes, and that's the way it'll be. If it gets that far.
God.
I mean, that's the other thing. At some point, if a casino decides to step in and say, fuck you guys, we're going to take this business, they got enough juice and enough contacts to start putting things on government radar.
Right.
It's one domino away from the entire industry changing.
Well, may none of those people see this podcast.
Fair enough. All right, we've talked long enough. I will give you your moment of glory. Go right ahead and talk Beckett.
Beckett's back, baby. $35 economy subs. You might not see the cards till 2024, but they're back. I have no idea turnaround time. I searched far and wide for it. I was going back
2 to 3 months.
I don't buy that.
Well, I mean that's their claim. Their claim on their social media channels is 2 to 3 months, and it's funny that there's plenty of other social media channels reporting that economy is now open again for Beckett, and then Beckett's like 24 hours later they post it on their own channels.
God, they've been gone for 2 years. We've been talking about it the whole time.
Yeah.
They have their PR. Whoever runs their PR is awful.
Yeah.
But I happened to see the email that the economy subs are back, and that's only because I have an account with them.
Oh, you didn't get it? You didn't find out in your monthly price guide you got in the mail that economy subs are back?
Because of the monthly price guide in my registration with Beckett.com, I get all their crazy emails. Which I usually just delete because it's usually just dumb crap. But then I happened to see that it said grading in the title, so I opened it.
Yeah, I mean, it puts them back on the map in contention, and basically another peg. It knocks SGC and HGA down another peg, in my opinion. If Beckett if they start to make a push, and they decide that they want back in this game and they want to start marketing again and running their business like a real business, HGA obviously continues to sync. And then SGC also. I still think a good part of the hobby respects BGS Beckett more than SGC.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been PSA and BGS. BGS disappeared, opened up the game for a lot of other people. While everything was shut down, people enjoyed sending the HGA, SGC, CSG. But yeah, if their purpose of grading is to make any kind of money or restore value or increase value of their cards, they're only going to send to two places.
Yeah, I would agree. And from our standpoint, we do a fair amount of grading. We probably, at least in our mind, I don't know, we probably get 20 or 30 cards a month graded. Beckett then becomes a viable option at a $35 price point that if we're not dead sure that the card's a PSA 10 and we still want to get it graded, then it goes to Beckett. And we hope to get the 9.5.
Yeah, what it'll do for us is we won't have as many rejects that we turn away.
Yeah.
There'll be a couple more that can go somewhere.
The way that we basically, our side hustle in the hobby is we buy stuff online. Neither one of us has time to go to shows, so we buy stuff online, and we, things that look like we feel can get a 10 on eBay or Twitter or Threads or whatever else, and we get it in. And if Bunk reviews it, and if he doesn't think that it's 100% good shot at a 10, we just resell the card raw. We don't submit it to get graded, because most times with the grading fee and the value, a PSA 9 it will wind up underwater on the card. So now that BGS is open, if it's close, we can send it off to BGS, hope to get the BGS 9.5, because then it can be a little bit off, and then we can still be profitable without dumping the card back out raw.
I like that they came in under $50 too.
Yeah,
they could have easily rolled out 50 and just said, okay.
Well, they needed a competitive price point. 50 is the same as PSA. What's my incentive? It's the same as if SGC was charging.
It's not resale value, but.
Well, if SGC was charging $50 now as their lowest price point,
they'd be out of business.
Yeah, nobody'd be submitting anything to SGC.
Yeah.
Unless you want it back in 24 business days or whatever whatever it is right now.
My new goal is I got to get a Black Label 10. I got to submit a Black Label.
Well, Nationals coming up in 2 months. You can actually see, feel, and touch cards. So we'll bring you a little scope, and you can see if you can find something.
And get eyes rolled at me. All show up.
Oh God, it's gonna be so fun. It's gonna be so fun when you break out your fucking CSI card scope and connect it into like a tablet, and you're just sitting there scoping cards at people's booths.
Dude, I'm not a violent person, but when that dude sighed and rolled his eyes, I wanted to punch him in the face. So bad. Yeah. But what are you gonna do?
Dude, at this point, we're gonna enjoy it.
I'm sorry you have a $500 card that's worth $100 because it's got this big crease in it that nobody can see, but I saw it. And you know it's there. Don't tell me you didn't know it's there. You know it's there.
Of course.
And you 5 times comps on a PSA 8, probably.
God, we'll get your shirt. Get you some sort of shirt that's like I scope cards or something stupid like that.
Right. I've been writing down little things like that, but I forgot them all. They're on paper.
Yeah, well, dig up your napkins. Eventually, the Sports Card Advantage T-shirts are going to be rolling out. We have a few good ideas, so those will be rolling out soon, and we'll have a few at National.
Yeah, but let's see. Let's see what their turnaround's like. Let's see if they get overwhelmed with volume right away. They'll never tell us that, but if we start seeing cards closer to the 3-month point, right off Jump Street here, then we know they got absolutely swamped right from the first week.
Well, we have that Torkelson card that we're doing nothing with, so take that and send it out to him. Because the only thing that's really wrong with that is it's slightly off center, correct?
Yeah, I think so. I'll scope it. But yeah, so now with that knowledge of Beckett, it's now instead of a reject card, it's potentially a Beckett.
Yeah. If the only thing that's wrong with it is potentially slightly off center, then
it'd be nice if he could hit his weight.
He's hitting 206 on the season.
It's close. Major league average. We're all right.
It's close. But yeah, that'd be a good experiment. Get it out there, and see how long it takes to come back.
Better than Kellenic.
Yeah. All right. Anything else on your beloved Beckett?
No, I'm excited. I've already started. I've had a pile going for 2 years that were eventually going to go to them anyway. So I knocked the dust off some of those cards, and I'm on a quest to get my first BGS 10.
Fair enough.
A real 10.
Real live boy. All right. Let's see what else we have on the agenda. Okay, gonna take a look at a couple things. Happened to see today in doing some card research, in our continuous quest for grading, a staple that we've used as a way to make extra money, unfortunately, is no longer viable. So one of the cards that we have purchased probably half a dozen times is a 2017 Mahomes Prizm Silver Raw, and then submitted it for grading. Unfortunately, we got no 10s, but we've always made money because there was always a gap between Raw and a PSA 9 price, and as long as you got the 9,
Nice gap.
it was a nice gap. We were able to make $300 to $500 ish on every card, and it was fantastic. And it's part of our routine searches. And I happened to search for it today. We haven't looked for it in a bit, just because we've been looking at other things. And now all of a sudden, the Mahomes PSA 9s are selling for $800. In previous sales, we've made anywhere from $1,200 to $1,700 on all of our PSA 9s that we've resold, and now all of a sudden they're selling for $800. The last Raw also went for like $800, so that is gone. So that leads me to the question: has the hobby lost faith in Mahomes? His PSA 10 has flirted with under 4,000 on the Prizm Silver, and that card was selling as regularly for $8,000 or $9,000. The 9s are at 800, and with the departure of Tariq Hill, they don't really have a tremendous wide receiving core. They didn't look great last year. Has the hobby lost faith in Mahomes, or is he underpriced?
I don't think they've lost faith. I think he's underpriced, but I do think he's going to trend down for a few years now, so they can reestablish
a few years. So
yeah,
so what you're saying is, unless he comes out and slings it this year, throws for 5,000 yards and 45 touchdowns, that you're going to see some downward trends for Mahomes.
He'll still hold a pricey bottom floor, not like the things we've saw over the last 2 years, but he's going to go into this. I've mentioned it before. You're 4 or 5 years in, and you're in this lull now of in the industry where people just kind of have their eye on you, and it'll just keep holding the same floor for a while, and then something else is going to have to happen to make it spike again. So yes, I think they're going to stay where they are or drop a little bit more. But yeah, and we've always talked about, once the PSA 9 meets the Raw, the other half to the equation here is I think people are still overbuying Raw for the 10.
Yeah.
So I think that's the big thing there too with him, with that card in particular, is we see it all the time. These Raws are going for more than the 9s because the picture looks great, but
yeah. Well, we could not crack that code. Like every time we had our hopes up, and every time we got a 9. Thankfully, we were able to make money on it. But the pops are climbing too, which is the other interesting part of this, because the second half of this conversation is 2018 Prizm Hobby underpriced? Hobby boxes underpriced. So if you look at the pops of Mahomes versus Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, which came out of 2018, the PSA 10 pop is $890. The PSA 9 pop is $2,300. And if you look at Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen, the pops on their silvers are so low. The PSA 10s, I think, are both below 100. Let me see here real quick.
Yeah, if the top pulls in that set, the silvers are that low on pop, then yeah, the box becomes more valuable in my opinion.
So the 2018 Josh Allen Prizm Silver PSA 10 is a pop 26.
Wow.
PSA 9 Pop 71. So the Allen Silver PSA 9 is going for $2,400 last sale, which is 3 times the Mahomes, and the PSA 10 going for $20,000, which is 5x Mahomes. And granted, 2017 there wasn't a base card, so that's the other thing that you have to keep in mind here. Like, obviously, it was easier to get those Mahomes, but right now, the 2018 Prizm Hobby Box is selling for $2,000. The 2022, is it 22 that's coming out? 21? What's the year for what's about to drop?
They're a year behind, right? So it's 2021.
So the 2021 retail coming out the gate is $1,600. So the question that I ask you is $2,000 for a hobby box of 2018 Prizm that has potential for the Josh Allens and the Lamar Jackson cards that are solo popped and, you know, selling for decent money. You also have, you know, a couple of other guys in that class. Nick Chubb is also in that class. There's one other, and Nick Chubb, in my opinion, has the potential to be a Hall of Famer. You have Baker Mayfield in that class. You have Saquon Barkley in that class. You have Darnold. And obviously these guys aren't massive studs right now, but they still have some hobby value. I mean, you pull a 2018 Baker or Darnold Prizm Silver, you know, or some sort of auto or whatever, it's still decent money.
Yeah, it's tough because logically you want to say, okay, for the extra $400, I'd rather chase Josh Allen. That's a no-brainer, right? But then, but as we see, as you get more and more years removed from the rookie class, all focus and money always goes towards what's new and shiny. And the last year, even though the quarterback class last year, you know, from that class isn't tremendous yet, there's a lot of hype around those guys still. So for $1,600, I think people are probably going to say, I'd rather spend my $1,600 on trying to get a Mac, Zach, Trey, that kind of Josh.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely a solid possibility. But geez, I'm looking at the Baker Prizm Silver. So
He's got no hobby relevance currently.
July 2021, that sold for $4,200. August it sold for $10,000, and then $1,850. And then down to $1,350 is the last couple sales.
Can you imagine if you bought that car for $10,000? You're looking at past sales of $1,300, and now he's only playing because Watson's going to be on a suspension, then he has nowhere to go.
Did they officially announce that Watson's going to be suspended?
No, but I'm assuming he is.
So I mean it's actually funny you brought that up. I saw today that Vegas released their over-unders for the season as far as what you can bet on, and Cleveland was off the board, which means that there is a massive gray area as far as whether or not Watson's going to play.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I mean, if Watson's camp's assuming that he's not going to play, which is why they structured the salary the way they did for year one.
And it's all guaranteed money, isn't it?
Yeah, but in order to help the Browns during the year, instead of having X number million on the books for 2022, now there's was he only getting paid $1 million this year or something that he'd have to forfeit?
I have no idea. I didn't really pay a whole lot of attention to his contract.
Yeah, it's all guaranteed, but if he's suspended, he doesn't get paid the money.
Yeah.
For that year. So they made it so this year is only $1 million or something like that.
Gotcha. All right. Well, it's going to be interesting to see. As far as how it all shakes out,
but Josh Allen sells really well, so it's tempting to just go for the 18 box.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on short term, long term. I mean, long term, you never know. Baker could catch on with another team. I personally think Nick Chubb's going to be a Hall of Famer. If you look at his numbers, I think he plays in Cleveland. He's on a shitty team, but if you look at his stats, I think he has a shot at legitimately being a Hall of Famer.
Well, who knows? But Watson, maybe, he only gets better. They score more points.
Yeah. I mean, but his numbers are insane as far as, like, if you look at his first few seasons.
And that's another way to look at it. Am I spending that money to rip it, or am I spending that money to put it on a shelf? I'd rather spend the extra $400 on that 2018 box and put it on my shelf.
Yeah. So Chubb has 4 seasons in the books. He has 4,000-yard seasons and 8 or more touchdowns in every season.
Yeah. It's tough. Shelf life of running backs is so low. He's got us. I mean, you just don't know. I don't know how you invest early in football players.
But
they're one play away from never playing again.
Yeah, I mean, his usage though is much less. Like if you look at his usage versus like Derrick Henry, I think his usage is less because they have, they've had the other guy there, and he's still putting up numbers.
Yeah. No, he's a great player.
Yeah. I mean, granted, obviously the hobby hates fucking anything but a quarterback, but still. All right, let's move right along. I think the only thing we got left is buy, sell, hold investments for the week.
Yeah, let's do buy, sell, hold.
So it had some people email questions in regards to buy, sell, hold on a couple of players, one on the upside of the league and one on the downside of the league. We'll start with the bad first. The question is Jared Kelenic. Is he already considered a bust, or do you think that there's still a chance he can turn things around? And would you buy, since obviously his prices are greatly depressed right now?
I think they're going to go down even more. So if you're interested in buying, I'd wait a little longer. And then what would really turn me off is after he got sent down, I let a week go by and I checked out his stats at Tacoma. Dude's already struck out 10 times in his first week at AAA. Did hit a bomb though, but he's not performing down there either. So I mean, listen, he's still 22. I think he turns 23 over the summer. So I think there's still time on him to turn around. I think you do, if you get buy really low on him, and he's obviously going to get another shot, I would imagine. And, you can capitalize on any kind of a hot week or a hot streak he has in him. Am I starting to think of him as a long-term hold? No. But if you're in for him, you're in a lot on him and you're already looking at X% down on him, you might as well hold at this point instead of dumping, in my opinion. He's young enough where I'd be comfortable holding and try to catch a rebound when he comes back up and hits a few dingers in a week.
Fair enough. Alrighty, and then the other person to talk about is Mr. Yordan Alvarez. Obviously had some initial hobby hype when he came up, and his stuff was selling really well. And then he, fell off a bit. And, now he's second in home runs to Judge, and he's hitting the shit out of the ball. So,
he's really hitting the shit out of the ball. So if you look at advanced metrics on him, I don't want to blow your mind on advanced metrics here, but he's I think he's 5th in the league in barrel percentage, and he's 3rd in the league in average exit velocity.
I don't even know what barrel percentage is. There's a statistic called barrel percentage?
Yeah, guy.
All right,
all the cool
Bill
fantasy
James.
guys use it.
All right, Bill James.
It has to do, so it only factors in if the exit velocity is 98 miles an hour or above and within a certain launch angle. And then there's a whole algorithm. For every mile per hour over 99, 98, it factors into the percentage. So considered a barreled ball as you hit the snot out of it.
All right.
So he ranks 5th in the league in the barrel percentage, which is awesome. He ranks 3rd in the league in exit velocity, and he's also sitting at, now he's only had a short career, but both these numbers, his averages, are all-time highs for him. He's gotten better year over year in both those categories, so he's trending in the right direction. I think the thing that really derailed him, though, is, obviously, the shortened season, and then he was coming off the knee surgery, so I think he definitely nosedived after the initial hype. But, boy, he appears to be every bit as advertised when he first broke in.
So the question is, so I don't know, I just pulled up his 2020 Topps Chrome Refractor. $78, pops 1,000. And if you look at, it was flat in the 50s and 60s for a while. When one sold at $85, now it's back basically $78 to $80. I mean, this card sold as high as 500. You know,
You're not going to see that again.
no.
Not on him. He's going to be 25 soon. He only has like 73, 74 career home runs in his age 25 season, which isn't all that high. And he had the injury history there, so he missed a lot of games. But I don't know. A long-term hold, he appears to be an awesome hitter, but I don't know that I'm stashing him away for long-term. But I think there's plenty of money to be made in the short term here, especially if the Astros remain relevant.
I mean, let's see, in the last like 6-8 months, I mean, I guess percentage-wise, if you look at it, some of his, last summer, his cards were 125, 130, which would be almost 100%. It's probably 75% above where it is now. So this is definitely something. It's either a smaller gain or a volume play where you basically try to get a lot of these, and if you can make $50 a piece on them, and if they pop up, but there's not a lot to the downside. I mean, this card went sideways for the better part of a while in the $50 to $60 range, so there's not a huge risk here. I'm trying to find if there's any other cards to grab for him.
Yeah, and the other reason why I like the advanced metrics are cool too, because it just kind of gives you an idea that someone's not smoke and mirroring you.
Yeah. So
especially with the, like, for example, if you look at who's struggling, Francisco Lindor, $300 million Mets player. He's like 115th in exit velocity and barrel percent. Like, that dude should be in the top 15 for what he's getting paid, and it's just not happening. He's not in the ball well, so I'd be scared as heck buying him right now. Something's wrong.
All right, well, there you go. You can make me a video on barrel percentage versus hobby value.
Yeah, well, I mean, again, I've said this before. I've used how I draft in fantasy. I use that to my advantage with the hobby as well sometimes. So same thing, advanced metrics. And by the way, I'm collecting that set, guy.
What set?
Topps started in 2019. They did something called an advanced stat parallel, and on the back, instead of hits, runs, average RBI, stolen bases, they put all these funky stats that I'm putting out to you on the back of the card. So it's the same card. It's numbered to 150, and then instead of the regular stats, it has the sabermetrics on the back. So I thought that was pretty cool. So I'm collecting it.
Riveted, guy. Riveted.
Yeah.
You have
a single card sitting in that office, guy?
Zero.
Christ.
Guy, you have all of our cards. So anything that would have been in my PC, you have it anyway.
That is true.
One other quick thing that I guess you can look at: 2020 downtown Jordan raw selling for 133 last sale, and then the PSA 10s on this selling for like six to 700. Probably going to be more because the last sale on this is registered last October at 590. So I got to imagine if you can get your hands on quality.
You throw one of those up now, it's going to go for more than that.
Yeah, I mean, you'd probably be looking at easily 800 to 1,000 bucks on this. So if you keep your eyes open, downtowns usually gem well. Or usually you can see flaws because of the chrome and the way the card lays out. The only tricky part with downtowns is the centering. But otherwise, you can usually see scratches, corners, creases, if they're bad. So it's definitely something to try to keep your eye on and snag one that may be in good shape. And I forgot completely that we're going to do a quick Slab Wars since we're talking baseball. I'm going to throw this in here. Aaron Judge, a little resurgence this year, leading the league in home runs with 14 about a month in. So definitely thought it was worthwhile to take a look at. Not a whole lot of high value Aaron Judge that I saw as far as his rookie card. So we're going to look at the 2017 Topps Chrome Refractor, PSA 10, SGC 10, and BGS 9.5. I didn't even bother to look up HGA. You want to take a quick look on 130, see if there are any. while I'm going over this.
PSA again.
What's up?
Which card is it again?
2017 Topps Chrome Refractor Judge. PSA 10 last sale $195. The pop on this is $728. SGC 10 last sale $142. So it's about 25 to 30% increase from PSA to SGC. And then the last BGS sale on this, BGS 9.5, sold for $86. A little surprising as far as the value that the 9.5 is that much lower than the SGC, and it's less than half of the PSA. So, once again, as always, PSA 10 is the highest. But the BGS 9.5 on this definitely a little surprising that it's that low, and also much lower than percentage wise anyway than an SGC. It's 86 out of 142, so it's a little less than half of the SGC 10.
Yeah, and I think for as good as he's been, those prices all seem low.
And the pops are low. It's pop 728 on PSA, and the card's last sale was for less than 200. And April it sold for 245. March 227. Surprising that pretty much before the season started was selling for more than it is now. But you got to figure if he keeps hitting, that's going to go up.
Yeah, I mean, the problem with Judge is he's already 30 years old. And if people are buying for the long term on him, I mean, even if he hits 30 home runs a year for the next 10 years through his age 40 season, he's still not at 500.
He has less than 200 home runs right now?
He's got 170.
Well, there you go.
So, but again, and this is something I know you and we're going to talk about in the future a little bit, and I've mentioned it a couple weeks ago, but milestones are going to be reshaped over the next couple of decades in baseball. I'll just tease one of our investments next week, but I don't think we're going to see. You got 4 guys right now that might sniff 500 home runs, and after that, there's no one in sight.
Yeah.
No one in sight. Nelson Cruz is close, but I don't even think he's going to make it. And then you got Giancarlo Stanton sitting at around 350, but he's 32 years old, so that's doable. And other than Trout and Harper, and both of them still have to show me that they can stay healthy and keep hitting 35, 40 home runs a year. I don't know if we're going to see another 500 home run hitter for a while.
Yeah.
So it begs the question then, do we lower our expectations of people's careers and how we value them after they're done?
Yeah, I mean that's definitely something that.
Or do we end up valuing the people who hit 500 and 600 home runs even more than we do now?
Well, I mean, times are different. Guys played every day because they had to in order to make the money that they were making, and nowadays.
Yeah, with the load management, so much money, all the pitchers after the 5th inning throwing 100+ miles an hour. There's a lot of factors here that are going to lower people's career stats.
Yep, I would agree.
So I think we have to take. I think my mindset, and I'm stuck in it. I'll admit to it. You get 3,000 hits, 500 home runs, X number of RBIs. That's your Hall of Fame. That's your
Hall of Fame.
Sell for a big buck.
Yeah.
So,
but that's the thing. It's like, where does the hobby go in regards to this? Do vintage guys get valued more because they did it? Or do people start looking at other statistics like barrel percentage and WAR and whatever other cockamamie crap that you guys are looking at as far as evaluating how talented somebody is, and then that person gets put on a pedestal? Like,
maybe, but we can't go back and you can't show me what Babe Ruth's barrel percentage was.
Yeah, I mean...
So you can't, we wouldn't be able to compare. It'd be cool as hell.
I mean, my question is, I guess, as far as will we see another Mickey Mantle value as far as baseball is concerned, but because there's so much product out there that there's never going to be enough scarcity to push the value.
Yeah, in 1956, how many Mickey Mantle cards do you think were produced in 1956?
Not enough. I mean,
No. Meaning he's got one card maybe. Right?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. Back in the year with what, Topps and Bowman, and that was it.
Yeah, and in 56, he didn't even have that. But here, I'm putting it now. And my point is, yeah, every month there's a new product coming out. I mean, Wander Franco's going to have 900 different rookie cards this year.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing. Can you provide that? I guess false scarcity and demand to push. Even if he's the fucking second coming of Jesus, can you provide enough scarcity that people will pay seven figures for any of these guys?
I don't know. I mean, if an individual card is scarce, we've already seen it. We've seen people paying through the nose for some of those. But
I mean, you saw that for the Trout. But when's the last time a baseball card of the modern era, other than the Trout, that $4 million Trout? When's the last baseball card of the modern era sold for more than $1 million?
Yeah, you're not going to see anyone. Trout is today's Mantle, right? In terms of that, face of, greatest of, there's no one else close.
But even that, is he that anymore?
I mean, if you're asking me, I'd say he's fallen off quite a bit here these last couple of years.
Personal feelings aside, and like let's look at hobby.
Yes, I'm on Team Harbor, but Mike Trout is the best player in Major League Baseball for the last several years.
I mean, but if you look at hobby prices, though, I mean, his hobby prices, I'm just trying to scroll through some of his more, all right, so here we go. Let's look at his Cognac Diamond Anniversary 2011 Topps Update, Pop 96.
Right, that's a fortune.
Yes, but May of 2021 sold for $17,000. Last sale, May of 2022, $9,900.
I think there's a lot of other factors over the last year, though, in bringing that price down.
Yeah, I mean, granted, May of 2021, the hobby was at its peak for the most part. March to May, yes. But at the same time, March 2022, cards sold for $13,800. May 2022 sold for $9,900, 25% less. So is the hobby not as in love with Mike Trout as they were?
No, I don't think it has anything to do with their love for Mike Trout. I think it has everything to do with every other economical thing under the sun. But with that being said, despite all those issues, if you got plenty of money, you'll spend what you need to spend to get the card you want. So I don't know what to tell you, but yeah, I think people are kind of in a little bit of a wait and see mode then on Trout. To bolster your point, if that's true, he's missed a lot of time. That calf injury that wiped out half his season or more than half his season has turned, maybe it's got people saying, hey, I need to see a little bit more out of you, dude, before we get back on board.
Yeah, I mean, that's the question is are they starting to look at some of his career numbers, and is he not going to stack up against some of the greatest?
I've already said this in the beginning. He doesn't stack up against the guys from the 90s. You put Mike Trout his first 7 seasons in comparison to Griffey and Frank Thomas. Frank Thomas blows Mike Trout out of the water, and I could buy a Frank Thomas score rookie card for $3, which is a travesty
for the money you can find in your couch.
Yeah, I mean it's just insane. And, there's a lot of factors there, but yeah, no. Of the current last 10 years, it's Mike Trout. Yeah. But how does he stack up to those other guys? I'm telling you, dude, you could baseballreference.com. You could do side by side of anybody you want over any time period you want, and you will see Mike Trout is well below a lot of your 90s Hall of Fame.
Well, and that's my and this is something we'll get into next week because it's a much bigger topic. It is baseball not what it used to be as far as the big cards, and we don't, maybe let's save this for next week because I think it's more than we're already at an hour and change and whatever. Let's save this for next week. it's a discussion that we can do a little bit of research on, but you don't seem to get, in the modern era, we don't seem to get the big sales. Like if you look at basketball, the Luka, logo man that went for $4 million, and some of these other cards that are modern era football, and there's been some Mahomes cards that have sold for high six figures, and other things, and we don't see that in baseball. So that's something that we'll talk about this next week, as far as whether or not baseball still has the big card clout that it used to. All right. On that note, anything else you'd like to discuss or grace us with this week?
No, I think I'm good.
All right, fantastic. Okay.
I'm going to bed.
Yes. All right. We're done. Episode 60 in the books. If you'll be so kind, leave us a review, take a screenshot, send it to info@Sports Card Advantage. We will do the drawing for this on the episode on June 4th. So you'll have another couple weeks to get it done. So please leave us a review on Apple or Spotify. Grab a screenshot, send it to info@sportscardadvantage.com. We really appreciate the support. It takes 30 seconds. You can win, a couple $100 prize. And on that note, enjoy the rest of your weekends, and we will see you next week.